Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Cop Talk. My name is Jeff Coons. I'm a captain with the Keizer Police Department, and I am your host. I'm joined today with Chief H. Mark Adams. Welcome to Cop Talk, Chief.
Thanks, Captain. Glad to be here.
It's been quite a while since we've looked into the camera and talked to the viewers directly, other than what you might say at council meetings or budget committee meetings, and a lot has changed since we filmed Cop Talk. We are now in a new building, so it's been probably quite some time since I filmed one, but we're here today to talk about some of the changes that Keizer PD has gone through. We're going to touch on the budget, what our budget is comprised of, and everything that goes into that, and then just some of the other organizational changes to update the viewers on what's going on with your agency, they are the taxpayers. And so with that being said, let's just start off and talk a little bit about the change. What is it like to be in the new building, and what do you think of the new facility?
Well, I'd say moving into the new building was kind of like the Clampett saw when they moved from their shack to Beverly Hills. I mean, we went from a building that was totally inadequate for the job. And if you remember the police department, the building is a tool, no different than a police car or handcuffs. It's a tool, and our old tool was way outdated for the job we were trying to do with it. Our new facility is up to date. We've settled in now. I think we've got all the little things that needed to be repaired or fixed, all working out, and it's really starting to produce some good results for us. I'm very, very appreciative to have a facility like this to work out of, and it makes us just that much more effective and efficient.
It really does. It really does. So we have had, in the last year, we've had a lot of change within our agency. Not only have we moved into this beautiful new facility, we've had a lot of change. Let's talk about a little bit of the change before we get into the budget, starting with the organizational chart. And Captain Teague leaving, my counterpart, your right-hand man, our right-hand man left, and then just let the viewers kind of know what's been going on.
Well, the police department was divided into two divisions, the patrol division and the patrol support division. Captain John Teague ran the patrol division, and Captain Coons ran the patrol support division. Captain Teague left us, took a job as chief of police in Dallas, and at that time we decided it was a good time to take a hard look at how we were doing things. And you have to understand that at Keizer PD, everybody has 3-4 jobs, okay? And we have a very flat organizational chart: chief, captains, at that time sergeants, and then officers. And we found that our plate was overloaded. The captains had just too many tasks to try to keep track of, too big a span of control. So when the one captain left, we decided, let's change things up. We went from chief, 2 captains, the sergeants and the officers, to a chief, 1 captain, who's basically the deputy chief, and then 2 division lieutenants. And we divided the department up into 3 divisions: patrol support, and admin division. Captain Coons continues to run supervision over all the divisions, and then he has the admin division personnel answering directly to him. So it kind of took some of those duties and spread them out a little bit. But on the downside, with Captain Teague leaving, we haven't replaced him, so we're still down 1 body as far as police officers go. And we had 2 other officers left this year to pursue other careers. So we had to go out and recruit to replace them. And boy, I tell you what, I don't think folks realize, and until you sit down and add it up, how expensive it is. Police officers today is a different job even than when I started. I've been in this 31 years. It is a very highly technical, highly trained job. In fact, they did a job task analysis probably 10 years ago, probably now. And the only job that came close as far as having to have a multiple of tools in your toolkit, abilities to switch gears, do whatever, was a trauma room physician in a hospital. So you can see where these guys really got to be trained. They got to be able to do a lot of things real quick, and you can't just, open the door and hire first guy comes in. So we'll go through, easily 100 applicants to get one.
And we just did that.
And we did that, and we have the two people we hired are out of the academy. They're finishing up their training, but that's taken nearly a year and about $100,000 a piece investment. So, but we're getting them there, and we'll soon be up to, we're only down one. But for the last year, we've kind of run about 3 officers short of what we normally have.
Right. Well, with that being said, the last year, and the viewers who watch the City Council on Kaiser 23 or the Budget Committee meetings will know that this last year has not been the perfect economic year for the economy or for the City of Kaiser in its entirety. So that's one of the reasons why we're here today, is to talk about the budget, specifically the police department budget. And I know we're going to start off with a larger discussion about the city budget and kind of, where the police department falls into that. So, there's a lot of talk out there about the police department and how big its budget is and why it's such a big piece of the general fund. So with that being said, why don't you just start off telling us a little bit about the budget?
Well, the city budget's made up of numerous funds, okay? But the general fund is the one you hear most about. The street fund, water fund, all those are dedicated funds. But the general fund is the funding comes primarily from property tax and revenue sharing, like cigarette tax, liquor tax, that sort of thing. Okay, and in a city, usually you'll find in your general fund the 2 biggies or the 3 biggies are your police department, your fire department, and your parks department. Well, in Kaiser, the fire department has a fire district. They have their own budget. It's separate from the city. So the main things in the city's general fund would be your police department and your parks department, with the biggie being the police department. Around 78% of the general fund runs the police department. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a reason it takes 78% of the general fund, is because we're the only department in the city that runs 24/7, 365 days a year. We never close, so it takes a lot to do it. But let's just talk about a little bit in review of how this last year has gone. You got to remember, the population of Kaiser is above 36,000 now. Mm-hmm. We continue to partner with Salem PD, Marion County Sheriff's Office. We partner with the Salem Kaiser School District, and also with the DEA. That's how we get it done, is through partnerships and having folks in-house that can do a lot of different tasks. This past year, we saw some increases in street gang crime. If you've been watching the news lately, you're seeing a lot of stuff going on in Salem, and we're not an island,
Right.
A lot of times people think, when they look at Kaiser, they say, well, we're just this town of 36,000, which in Oregon's a pretty good sized city, but we're not an island. We're part of a 300,000 plus metropolitan area. When it comes to crime, we're a city of 300,000.
Criminals don't know.
They don't know if they're in Salem,
Right.
Marion County, or where they're at. So that makes it kind of tough for us. But this past year, the budget came into play. The economy finally caught up with the city of Kaiser, and our revenue saw some shortfalls. And I have to be thankful for our mayor and council and city manager, the leadership they provided, the fact that even though we're hitting softer than a lot of folks did when it came to the budget, I think because of the way Kaiser does things and some planning, some long range planning. But we still had a hard one this year, and we started cutting last year's. We had a budget set for last year, but as the year was coming to an end, and we're looking at the way things are going, we realized, whoa, we're going to have to start cutting now to soften the hit we're going to take when the 2010-11 budget comes on. So we started cutting then. Then we cut during the budget. As we put the budget together, we cut and we cut. In fact, over $300,000 in our materials and services we've cut out, and it would have been $400,000 if it wasn't for the fact that we had some revenue from our partnership with the DEA, some drug forfeiture money that came back in to help us pay for some of our narcotics investigative equipment and related issues. So we're back. Our budget's about what it was for 2007, 2008. You look at our budget, and the captain could tell you, you're going to see that the personnel costs went up a little bit. While materials and services went down and our overall budget went down, But our personnel costs went up a little because we do have all the police officers, anything below sergeant and support staff, are all part of a union, and they have collective bargaining, and they have a contract, and the city had to pay a 2% cost of living allowance as part of that contract. But the rest of the department, we froze everybody's salaries from mine down through all the sergeants, no step increases, nobody got a COLA. We're holding the line, squeezing every nickel, because it's going to be a tough year ahead. The future, the economic downturn will continue to play a dual role for us in the police department. One, it's making it harder for us to have the revenue to do the job. The second time, when the economic's in a downturn, crime tends to be in an upturn. You know, or not so much crime maybe as calls for police service, because a lot of people are stressed, a lot of things are going wrong. That creates those calls for police service, and we have to respond.
Well, let's talk a little bit more. I want to get into a few more of the cuts. Now,
Okay.
We said earlier this year, you know, you could see, for lack of better words, the train wreck coming. I mean, all the revenues were coming in much less than expected. A certain franchise fee, the way they do the accounting on that was changed. So, I mean, it's kind of like you've described in the past. It was kind of the perfect storm, which we were the recipients of. So we started cutting training, but you touched on $300,000 worth of cuts that have taken place between the last fiscal budget and this fiscal budget, and you mentioned $100,000 worth of revenues that were brought in from the DEA task force.
Right.
Let's talk about that. We have one person assigned to the task force, and what kind of situation would have we been in had we not received those forfeitures?
Well, we have one officer who's assigned full-time as a partner with the DEA on a DEA task force that works the major drug trafficking organizations. Now, I know if I was at home, I think, well, what does that have to do with the city of Keizer? The city of Keizer, again, as part of this 300,000 population, sits right on I-5, which is a corridor for drugs that go right through the Northwest. The methamphetamine distribution network is huge, and like if you thought of it as a commercial enterprise, it has distribution warehouses, it has just managers, you know, a whole organization of a business. Well, that reaches clear up to us. We get a lot of those. That distribution comes through I-5. Keizer sits on I-5. We get it here. So not only are they dealing these drugs out on our street, through the task force, we have raided houses in Keizer that were, it was a nice home, a nice neighborhood, but all that was in it was weapons and money. It was just it was like the regional office for drug organizations in Mexico. So, boom, we've got some problems there. So, we partner with the DEA, which gives us the federal assets we need to do things. Our guy helps DEA, DEA helps us, and as a result, when they do make a big bust in these cases, and there is lots of money, the city of Keizer gets a portion of that revenue that they seize from these organizations. And this past year, it was a little over $114,000, if my memory serves me correct, maybe more.
Right.
And that,
thankfully,
yeah, but that money can only be used for certain things. We can't pay salaries with it. We can buy equipment. We can buy the tools we need to help us perform better in the fight against illicit drugs. That's the upside. The downside is that with the growth of the population, the calls for service load, the fact our patrol division needed help, and we're down people, we've had to pull people out of our street level drug unit, which is community response unit, and move 2 of those officers back to patrol, which has really reduced our ability to respond to neighborhood drug complaints, drug house complaints. We're still going to work them. It's just going to be a little harder, but we're doing. You know, I think we're making it, but we're just barely making it.
Well, and you touched on that earlier, but I think it's important for the viewer to know that when we lose people such as Captain Teague or the other 2 officers that decided to pursue other careers, that puts us down 3 officers. And the hiring process, we probably advertise for 4 to 5 weeks in the newspaper. Then we have a testing date. That's the written test, and then the physical abilities test. If they pass that, Then they're fortunate enough to come back for some group interviews. If they make it through the group interview, then they go on to one-on-one interviews. And then at the end of the day, we make them a job offer, and then they still have to pass a psychological test, a complete and thorough background that takes weeks to do, and then a physical test. And if all the stars line up, for lack of better words, at the end of the day, we offer them a job. And then after that, they have a 16-week academy. So if we
And
lose
after the academy, about another 16 weeks of in-house training.
right, in-house with a coach in the patrol car. So if we lose somebody today, it at least takes us a year to replace that person. So when you say that we lost 3 people last year and we've only been able to hire 2 back, we're still 1 short, and that we're having to pull resources from our community response team to fill vacancies on patrol. That's what's happening, folks. It's not as simple as we lost employee A today and we can fill with employee B tomorrow. It's a long process.
And that takes us, I think a lot of the folks out there don't really know how many police officers we have or how many are on duty. Now, the ones you see are usually the ones that are out patrol or the guy in your rearview mirror that you probably hope you didn't see. But it takes to put 1 police officer out on the street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, takes about 5.5 police officers, a little over 5.5. Okay, and our goal is to have 5 patrol, a sergeant, 4 officers on duty all the time. So you can see where that quickly adds up when we only have 40, including the administrators.
Right.
And then our detective unit and our traffic unit and our school resource officers. You see we don't have a whole lot of folks to spare. Now we have 3 school resource officers that are assigned full-time in the school district. We have one at the McNary High School. We have one at each middle school who also covers the grade schools.
All the feeders.
And then they have a supervisor. Now that's paid for, half of it's paid for by the school district. We have a partnership contract with them. That helps. But they're dedicated to those schools. And you go, well, why do you need 3 police officers in schools? Are the kids that bad? No. They're there as much to protect the kids as they are for anything the kids might get involved in. But our goal by having these officers in school is that the school can have a nice, safe atmosphere so that kids can learn, teachers can teach, and in today's world, we can protect them from outside influences or bad influences inside. So we've got a big job, and I think we do it pretty good. I think you probably have the stats on.
I do.
To compare, this is something that came out in this budget year, Jeff, that really blew my mind. Is when the city manager did a study of cities and compared number of employees that a city has per population. Okay, and then we compared the number of police officers a city on average has per population. Kaiser won in a couple of classes. The city of Kaiser has the fewest number of employees per capita than just about any city its size, or if you go by comparing, population city. We're there. We have like what, 3 employees per 1,000. That's citywide. That includes the fire department. We lump the fire department in there too because they're kind of
Make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
When it comes to the police department, we have about barely 1.1 police officers per 1,000. And what was the state average? Closer to almost 1.67, closer to 2. So you can see where we're doing a lot with a little. Kaiser's done it smart. We're a young city. We just had our 25th police department's 25th birthday, and we do things a lot more efficient and I think a lot more effective than a lot of cities. But we're right on the edge. I mean, we're providing still providing full service, but we're there where we're being more of a reactive service and not a proactive service. And I would really like us to be a proactive service, but the city has another distinction, is having one of the lowest tax rates, or the lowest tax rate of a city our size in the state. Our $2.08 per 1,000 value tax rate is incredibly small compared to other areas, and we have to be effective and efficient to make it work. But my concern in the future is that it's going to be tough to do. It's just the cost of doing business for the police world is outpacing our resources. We're going to continue to provide the very best service we can with those resources we're provided, but it's getting tougher every year.
Well, touching on, just so the viewers will know, some of the data that you were referring to regarding police officers per thousand, there is a report, it's compiled, I believe, every 5 years by Portland State University, their Population Research Center, and the Oregon State Police, the law enforcement data systems. Basically, there were 123 cities that contributed to this report in 2009. And out of the 123 cities that have police departments, the average per thousand is 1.67 officers per 1,000. Kaiser ranks it just over 1.1 officers per 1,000 residents. To give you a comparison, back in 1999, we had 37 officers, where today we have 40. So in 1999, our population for the city of Kaiser was just over 30,000. Our officer per 1,000 ratio was higher back then. It was 1.22. So you ask yourself, well, where does that compare when you start to break us down into our population categories, cities of 20,000, one person up to 50,000. There are 17 cities in the state of Oregon in that category, and we are still the third lowest officer per 1,000 ratio. So I think we're doing a great job based on the resources that we receive. I think that we're happy to say that we still provide full service. We still respond to traffic crashes, facilitate the information exchange. We respond to all calls for service, as many of them as we can, in person, instead of having telephone reporting officers or mailing out those traffic crash reports. So we are doing a good job, but if we don't find additional revenues in the future, it's going to be interesting to see where it takes us.
Yeah, and I know if I was, I'm a taxpayer, I live in Kaiser, and I'd think, well, where's all this money going? We're paying these guys too much, or what's the situation down there at City Hall? I see that they just, the police officers got a cost of living adjustment and things like that would concern me. The fact is, another thing that Kaiser has done, and I think we've done a very smart way of doing business, the city council has set a goal for us to always maintain our salaries at the middle of our comparison cities. Mm-hmm. And when I say comparison cities, that's other cities our size, maybe a little bigger, a little smaller, that we have to compare against. We're never the highest paid, we're never the lowest paid. We stay right there in the middle, okay? And that does something for us. When it comes contract time and when we're negotiating with the police union or whatever, they're never way behind the comparators, so they're not having to come in and ask for some raise or justify a raise. They're right there. And they're never the highest, they're never the lowest, we're always in the middle. That helps in another way too, from a chief of police point of view. When I'm trying to recruit people in Kaiser, I'm also competing against Portland, the state police, Salem. I'm competing against some bigger agencies for talent, and it makes it a lot easier to recruit when we're in the middle instead of being at the bottom. It'd be nice to be at the top, but then we wouldn't be able to afford anybody. So we stay right there in the middle, and we have gotten surprised. We have very, very, very good talent here. Another thing people would want to know is, well, okay, who are all these people do you have? Is it all bosses, or is it all worker bees, or what's the deal? Well, we have one chief of police, we have one captain, we have 2 lieutenants. These lieutenants are over divisions, and over those divisions there's 7 sergeants. We have these are line supervisors. We have 1 police support service supervisor who supervises our records and our evidence folks. We have 29 police officers, 1 community service officer, another 6.5 full-time non-sworn personnel. But we also have 8 cadets. We have 3 volunteers who, these people are unbelievable, that come in and work unbelievable number of hours for us in helping our records department and our community service officer department. And when we have usually on average between 5 and 10 reserve police officers. So that makes up, and hey, we get a lot done with that. But it's expensive. And I know one area of expense that I get asked about a lot is the cars. Why do you need so many cars? Why does it seem like you're always getting new cars? I mean, just the other day we saw you guys were getting new cars. We set up, over a decade ago, we set up a plan at Kaiser PD where instead of purchasing police cars and then running them till the wheels fell off and then being stuck with this junk of hull to try to sell,
or high maintenance,
and constantly having to have them worked on, we decided we would lease our fleet. At that time, when we first started, that was kind of a new idea, but now it's pretty much
Catching
the
on.
norm.
Yeah.
We don't have our own mechanics. We don't have our own city shops. When our cars need oil changes, it's down to Oil Can Henry's. When they need brakes for tires, it's down to Les Schwab. You know, when they need work, we try to spend that money locally. But by leasing our fleet, we have a certain number of our vehicles every year rotate out. And they rotate out right about the time that the 36,000 mile 3-year warranty runs out. So we get these things out the door before they start having major problems that have to be fixed. We also lease the majority of the police equipment that goes into a police car. The lights and all that stuff that you have to have in a police car, the cameras, the radar. We lease all that, so that's always new and being updated. So every year you'll see some go out, some come in, and every year we'll have a big chunk of money in our revenue sharing that pays for those leases. But we found we were able to get more rolling stock for the dollar by leasing than we could purchasing, while keeping our maintenance cost way down compared to what it would be. Occasionally we'll lease cars like the 3 cars our school resource officers drive, and at the end of the 3-year lease they don't have a lot of miles, they're in great condition, and are a good bargain, so we buy them.
Right.
We buy them out at the end of the lease. So we've done a lot of things to that. This year we've added a couple of our unmarked cars. We were able to find a compact SUV, a 4-wheel drive vehicle. The cost about the same as it would to buy a 2-wheel drive car, and gave us an additional tool. We could rotate them in the patrol if we need to during inclement weather, off-road issues. Gives us a different kind of platform for a command vehicle, so you'll see that new for us. But I think we have some folks that do a really good job of finding the very best we can for our money.
Well, very good, very good. Our goal today was to try to keep the program at 30 minutes, just kind of get Cop Talk up and running again in the new facility here, and I think we've done that. We have referred to a couple different things. The 2009 annual report right here, along with the 2008 and 2007 reports, can be found on our website. Website is kaiserpd.com. A few other things I wanted to touch on in closing here is, in addition to that website, if you would like to receive email alerts regarding incidents that occur in Kaiser or just general media updates, you can find the information in the annual report, but that's nixle.com, NIXLE.com. And if you want information about crime or incidents that we respond to in the city of Kaiser, you can sign up for that service at crimereports.com. These are all services that are being provided by the Kaiser Police Department in partnership with the entities that I described, so I would encourage you to check those out. And we hope to be back real soon, filming another new Cop Talk for you. With that, in closing, Chief, do you have any closing remarks?
Well, I'd just like to say to the public that we know times are hard, and we want you to know how much we appreciate the support folks give the Kaiser Police Department, not just in your tax dollars, but in the support we get from folks. We hear it every day, and we will do our best. We will continue to work as hard as we can to give you the very best bargain for those dollars they're paying. And I know that's a lot of money, and we appreciate it, and I think we're being good stewards of your money. With that, just stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for joining me today, Chief.